You're listening to Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles episode 79, featuring Amazing Spider-Man number 223 and Uncanny X-Men number 152. This is September 1981. Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles is a podcast that will journal the Amazing Spider-Man comic book issues read chronologically by their release date, along with another comic from Pat's comic book collection, either in a digital, in a trade, or from the many long boxes stashed away in Pat's basement. Each episode will provide a short recap, review, and rating of the issue for that release date. The goal is to keep Pat actively reading through his collection, having some fun along the way, talking about it with his friends, and guess what? That's us! And Delvin says no, doesn't count himself among Pat's friends. I guess I should introduce everybody. We will start with, I'll just do it by the script. Let's see. I'm, of course, Jared Albrecht, the Death Probe. I'm sitting in for Pat running the show tonight, due to his night off. With me is my brother, Jason, the Weasel Skull Albrecht. Welcome back to the show, Jason.
Well, hello, Jared. Boy, we've got some exciting comics to go through. And I was actually there at that battle that the X-Men fought. We'll get into that a little bit later. And boy, Storm, she almost lost it. She almost killed White Queen. We'll get into it. And she blew off her clothes. Like, she was like, "You will not control me. I'm a goddess." And so ever since then, every time I see her, I try to replicate that moment. I'd be like, "You remember when Queen took over your body?"
Yeah.
And then I just wait. It doesn't work. And I'm told I have to go to HR again. Or her or something.
So Storm, remember that time take your clothes off? And it didn't work again. All right. Speaking of someone who will not take his clothes off when demanded, it's Delvin, the Dark Web Williams. Welcome back to the show, Delvin.
I mean, if you ask nicely enough.
Okay, noted, everyone.
Don't have to demand. But anyway, no, thank you for being here. I appreciate being here. Thank you for inviting me to this party. And yeah, I'll just take this drink here. Oh my God. Oh, what is this?
We got you.
I'm not coming back. Those are mean.
That's what you get, smart guy.
He's a nerd.
What a nerd. All right. And finally rounded out, we have a guest. It is a Crusaders Club member. I'm pretty sure Pat went to the Crusaders Club page and said, "Hey, anybody want to hang out with us on an Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles?" And apparently he said yes. So here he is Crusaders Club member and friend of the show. It's Rob Morgan. Welcome back to the LBC studios, Rob.
Greetings and salutations. Honor and a pleasure to be with you all once again.
Rob and I went to Auburn at the same time back in 1874.
And it was still East Alabama Male College.
That's right. Delvin was there too.
Do you ever go by the name Captain Morgan?
Heck yeah, he does.
Actually,
there you go.
A lot of people called me that back in those days.
I think the last time Rob was here, I think he was on Action Film Face Off.
That's true.
And I think at that time he was unmarried, which has changed, I believe.
Well, I mean, I'm still unmarried.
Oh,
okay.
But you got hit.
I'm off the market.
Oh, okay.
You got a ring on that finger?
Not yet.
I keep seeing these posts of him with this really pretty girl, and I'm like, I'm starting to suspect it's the same pose, like a cardboard cutout of a pretty girl that he's got. But I'm like, oh look, okay, she's a different pose. She's real.
It's an AI image generator.
Well, it's a darn fine one. She's very pretty. You're very lucky, man.
She may actually be on the. I shared the link to YouTube. So hey, Leslie, if you're there.
Hey, Leslie, if you're.
Oh yeah. Hey, Leslie.
We're happy to have you if you're here. Hey, there she is. There she is. She's in the chat.
Oh, she had some. There was like 4 question marks.
Man, I torpedoed his early, didn't I? Well, I guess he'll be back. We'll see.
4 question marks. So little I know about women.
Man,
good.
Totally ruined Rob's life with this appearance. Anyway, you know what? You can leave us a voicemail. We'll play for you on the show. If you'd like, and you can always leave us a message at 707-532-5269. That's 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the ring.
Put a ring on it.
Don't leave Rob alone. It's already bad enough.
It's a good thing I'm in low light here because I'm really red right now.
Well, you look good. You're fine. Now, before we get started with this train wreck of an episode, let's hit a quick podcast promo break, and we'll be right back.
The Incredible Hulk and the Twins of Evil. In a mind-boggling attempt to destroy the Green Goliath, the Abomination and Wendigo join forces.
Alone I can fight you to a standstill. Together we can render you helpless.
Hulk only wants to fight fair.
The deadly duo leave the Hulk defeated. But suddenly...
It's the Hulk.
Keep away. Hulk no like people.
It's okay, Hulk. We'll help you.
You got to have something to eat, Hulk. Here, have a Hostess fruit pie.
Hostess fruit pie?
You'll like the real fruit filling.
And how about that light, flaky crust?
Hulk happy now. Hulk thanks, boys.
The Green Gargantuan crashes off into the forest.
I'm glad we had Hostess fruit pies to share with the Hulk. He ate them all. Apple, lemon, and cherry.
In a strange way, I think he knows we're his friends.
Now Hulk take care of unfinished business.
You get a big delight in every bite of Hostess fruit pies.
Welcome back from the break. Now, let's go to the first featured issue for this episode. It is Amazing Spider-Man number 223. The credits for this issue are provided by Mike's Amazing World of Comics website. We love you, Mike. All right, as I mentioned, this is Amazing Spider-Man number 223. Its publisher is Marvel. Is that how that's pronounced? Marvel?
Yeah, I mean, you're taking over Pat's spot, but you can resume your ability to read.
Oh, okay. I was just being funny. Anyway, it was cover dated December 1981. Its on sale date was September 1st of 1981. Cover price 50 cents. Editor Thomas P. DeFalco.
Superstar.
Well, writer Dennis J. O'Neill. Penciler John Romita Jr. Inker is $10 Alan Milgram. Letter is Rick L. Parker. And the colorist, gentlemen, Glynis Wein.
What?
Yay! Up, Glynis.
We got an episode now. I'm happy.
I don't know about you guys, but on the very first page where it has the credits in the comic, like they ran out of space. So like in really small print, it's like for the letter, I think, in the colors, I was like, Glynis deserves better than your tiny print.
It's true.
I went to full Donnie Z. I was like, you pieces of crap.
If we could invent a time machine, we're going back 40 years or so, just to find that person foot to romp immediately. Boom.
So anyway, we love Glynis. And by the way, Amazing Spider-Man number 223 is reprinted in Essential Spider-Man Volume 10 trade paperback. Marvel Masterworks Volume 283, which is the Amazing Spider-Man Volume 21 hardcover. Cover credits go to John Romita Jr. and $10 Alan Milgram. And I'm going to pass it off to Jared for the cover description. Thank you, Jared. The Marvel Comics banner is missing, or should I say replaced. And it's not for a 10-speed bike ad this time, though. So Jason, we'll see. This is actually much more fun because it's an ad for the upcoming new cartoon on NBC Saturday morning, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. See, Pat, you don't have to do any edits. And if you're interested, the ad is light blue with black lettering. Spidey continues to swing in his green corner box. The Amazing Spider-Man logo is yellow with red highlights with the webs. The main action features the Red Ghost, and he's being spotlit, whatever, by Spider-Man's iconic Spidey light. The Red Ghost is accompanied by 3 angry primates, and cover blurbs state, suddenly, super apes, and all new thrills and chills as Spider-Man dares the wrath of the Red Ghost. I didn't put anything clever in it this time.
Red, red ghost.
I should have used lyrics from Red, Red Wine. Down. Anyone can
Red,
do it.
red ghost. You keep been rocking with the most. Rocking and a rolling with the red, red ghost.
Oh, it's count on Jason. Thanks for bailing me out, man. All right, let's do our quick thoughts on the cover. The first round, first honor goes to our guest, Crusaders Club member, friend of the show, Rob Morgan. What do you think about this cover, Rob?
Oh, my first thought was what you already mentioned. A lot of nostalgia for Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I loved that show, so don't mind the overbearing banner on this one. I also like the Spidey light. Always loved that when I was a kid. Cast on the Super Apes and the Red Ghost. Other than that, it's just kind of there. It's not good, not bad. Yeah.
It's a lot of apes and some Spidey light. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're
kind of wish Spider-Man was actually on the cover, but it's not JR's best work, but it'll do.
I think it's a good summary, but let's see what Delvin thinks. What do you think, Delvin?
I think I want to tell a very quick story. About 12 years or so ago, some friends invited me to go to watch a U2 concert. And Florence and the Machine opened for them. And it was a pretty good concert. But at that concert, there was a kind of tall, slim brother there, and he had dreads on. And it was clear, he may have been under the influence of some Mary Jane Watson Parker going on there. And I made the joke that I was like, I think he thinks that he's at a UB40 concert. All right, with that laugh out the way.
I thought it was funny. It ties into Jason's
I was laughing. I was on mute, though. You just didn't hear me laughing. I laughed. It was good.
All right, the cover, I like it. It's unique. Yes, it doesn't have Spider-Man on it, but like John Romita Jr. found a cool way to do it with the Spidey logo shining on the Red Ghost, and the Super Apes kind of like, no, we don't want to be seen. And, the angle is, not just normal, it's rakish. So there are some clever things that are in the cover. I look at it and I think it's kind of a fun cover. Yeah, has Romita Jr. done better covers? Sure. But do I think that this was a fun and an inventive cover? Yes. And also, it kind of just, put a little bit of, smile on my face, a little bit of smoothing of the tummy feathers, because I remember the Red Ghost and the Super Apes because they do come back to Amazing Spider-Man around the time of the Clone Saga the Symbiote Saga, the Alien Costume Saga, because DeFalco and Friends writes that book and they bring them back. And so I remember seeing them for the first time there and thought they were kind of kooky, and they are. They're kind of kooky, but like definitely not to be slept on. So I don't think that they're D-listers. I think I put them at B to C lister in that they aren't used a lot, but you can, like, if somebody wanted to bring them about as powerful foes, they could, because the potential is there.
Very much in the Stegron zone for me. So,
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. I do.
I like them because they're kooky.
the Super Apes.
Yeah. And then the one dude who's a human made quite a choice with that haircut.
Oh, yeah. It's like, you know what? I'm holding on to this hair. Like, yeah, I may have lost it on top. I ain't lost to the back, baby. It's still a part of that back.
He didn't comb it over. He just let it all fall down.
It's not a mullet. It's just a let.
It's a skull. It's a skullet.
The skullet. There it is. Oh, Jason, you got the mic. You get the last word on the cover.
Yeah, I'm kind of of two minds on this one. On the one hand, I'm thinking the purpose of the cover really is to get new readers or get existing readers excited about what's going on. And I don't think that as a relatively new Spider-Man reader myself, just kind of really seriously reading through it in our podcast here, I don't know that this would get me to pick it up off of a rack. On the other hand, I also, as somebody that's kind of been in the comic book fandom for a while, I realized, well, it looks like maybe they were really trying to promote this Red Ghost and bring him into the Spider-Man comics. And it's like, hey, you got to have him on the cover, and you can only do so much. So the other part of my brain is kind of in Delvin's camp going, that's kind of a clever way to do it. You got the Red Ghost on there. I don't know who he is, but he looks kind of cool, and he's got some gorillas. And then you've got that iconic Spider-Man light. So I'm really flip-flopping here, folks. I'm just, on the one hand, it's like, I wouldn't pick it up. But on the other hand, I think it's creatively kind of interesting.
I'm kind of with you on that, Jason. I think everyone here has contributed a little something to it. Like, it doesn't have Spider-Man. Oh, right. But it's got really cool coloring and lighting effects artistically. And like, if you saw the spinner rack and you're like, suddenly Super Apes. If you're a guy who likes Stegron like me, you're like, all right.
Yeah, you're picking this book up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm listening. And of course,
I got no truck with Super Apes. Give me some Ultra Humanite, some Gorilla Grodd, some Grape Ape.
That's what I'm thinking.
Give me those.
It really put me in mind of Gorilla Grodd, especially. And I thought, yeah, why not? So yeah, it's going to be interesting when we score them. So we're about to do the cover ratings, and I'll remind folks in the chat, the super secret chat, by the way, if you're listening to this in podcast form, just know that there are people watching this. God help them, watching this live and interacting with us in the chat. And you can do that too. But this is the super secret chat where you have to be a Patreon member. But hey, we're not going to break the bank. You can join patreon.com/LongBox Crusade for as little as, my notes say, is that $10 a month?
No, Jared.
Yeah.
It's $1.
Oh, the zero is silent. Okay. Yep. $1 a month.
You always forget some mundane detail like that.
It's not a mundane detail, Delvin. But he's right. It's as low as $1 a month. You can get in on all this stuff. So, folks in the chat, go ahead and prepare your 1 to 5 ranking while I remind you what those rankings are made of.
Wait, can I say something really quick? Just one last thing about the Crusaders Club. Right. I think that it's important for folks to know, like, the benefit of being a club member and doing this live is every now and then I say something really poignant. And I'm going to do it right now for the folks in the chat.
Nice. Yes.
Oh, man.
Oh my God.
That is what your $1 a month.
There you go.
Oh, tears. Literal tears.
The $1 a month gets you that extra. Man, Jason.
That's what you get.
I don't know how he does it.
You're either a member or you're not.
Man, some of the guys.
I was really afraid Jason was about to give his William Shatner Get a Life speech.
Or just his Rocket Man performance. All right. The rating system is as follows. A 5 means you loved it and it tickled your tummy feathers. 4, it's funny when somebody else does it. 4 means you really liked it. 3 means you liked it. And 2 means you didn't like it. And 1, you hated it. It ruffled your tummy feathers. Let's find out. We will start with Rob Morgan gets to set the bar. I think he was the least enthusiastic, maybe all of us. So maybe it'll be a low set. What do you think, Rob? Where are you going to go? 1 to 5?
I'm still going to go with a 3. It's not bad. It just doesn't set my world on fire. So it deserves a 3. I like it. I just don't love it.
I think that's perfectly fair. Let's find out. Is Delvin kind of had the high energy for it? Are you going to go with that 4? Or are you going to hang with Rob at the 3?
I'm actually going to hang with Rob at the 3, but like it's the highest of 3s. It's 3. It's up there. Like I can't quite give it a 4, but I appreciate the inventiveness of it.
Got that 3. Gotcha.
Yes.
Jason, are you at the 3? Or are you at the 4?
No, I'm still at the 3. I'm going to join the other 2 gentlemen. I think 3's appropriate score for this one.
I'll be a trailblazer, gentlemen. I will be a trailblazer. I will give it the 4 for 2 reasons. I really want to do a riff tracks joke right now. There's a movie where they're riffing. This guy walks in. He goes, I'll give you 2 reasons. And they continue the scene, and he never gives them the reasons. It just left wondering. I'm not going to do that, though. The 2 reasons I will give for bumping this to a 4. It's got Super Apes on it, which is weird, and I like that. And if I'm honest with myself, if I saw that on a spinner rack as a kid, I'd be like, yes. If I saw that as a 47-year-old man, I'd be like, yes, Super Apes, I'll do that. And the other reason is the Spider-Man is Amazing Friends ad just makes me that happy to remember that cartoon. I mean, I can remember this was part of Jason and I's Saturday morning lineup. And for those of you that don't remember, comic books were great for that because they'd have almost always a double page spread. And it would have one comic on ABC, the other one have CBS, and the other one have NBC. For those of you listen, young people, those were the channels that we had, right? And they tell you.
Oh, yeah.
And you had to plan. You had to okay, we got to switch to this channel at this time. Which shows are gonna make the cut? And Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man's Amazing Friends, it made the cut.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other part of that too is that in our household we were allowed 2 hours of cartoons on Saturday morning, so we had to pick when and what we were watching. And there was some pretty violent disagreement on a couple of things, but Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends, that was locked in. We were unanimous.
No, there was no
bipartisan support.
That we were
Amazing Friends.
All right, so just before we get the numbers from the people in the chat while we're talking about Spider-Man's Amazing Friends, I often remember it as there was a Hulk cartoon that came on after it. Was that sort of like the back half of Spider-Man's Amazing Friends, or was that its own show? Does anybody remember? Rob looks like he has something to say.
I think it was like an hour, one of those hour blocks.
Okay, so
like an hour of Marvel on NBC.
So a little half hour correct. Spidey, half hour Hulk type of deal.
Yeah. And I may be remembering it wrong. It seems like the Hulk cartoon continued after the Amazing Friends. Like, I think there's only one season of Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends. Is that right? It's on Disney Plus now. I have not.
Is it? Okay.
I'm a little worried that if I go back and watch it, it's not going to be great. And so I don't want to ruin my good memories of it.
I've watched a couple of episodes. It's still fun.
What an odd choice. Firestar and Iceman. What an odd choice to
play. And Firestar was created for the show, right? She was introduced into the comics later, but I think she was created for that show.
She was, and I just went to imdb.com. 3 seasons, 24 episodes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Nice. I am these nuts beat.
And honestly, like at the time, the X-Men are in an episode.
I remember that
the show, and that's probably the first time I ever knew who the X-Men were.
Australian Wolverine.
Yeah.
Don't make me pop my claws. A dingo ate my baby.
Oh, anyways, poor Pat has to edit all this. Looking back at the chat, Kathy gave this one a 6.9, which I think, see what you're doing there, Kathy.
Does Kathy have a fetish we don't know about?
Well, more to come. And then she said,
we would know about it. You know what? Just keep going.
Let's keep going. She said, since my jokes aren't landing tonight, she's going to go with a 3. Auburn Elva says, I give it a 4, but bump it up for the coloring. I can't argue with him on that. I always like covers that use magenta and show Spidey's light. So it's a 5. He's going all out. It's going all out. Got no beef with that, man. If it hits you, it hits you. Matt Passo, even though I'm not big on the red ghost, the cover is good. And big props for Spidey and his Amazing Friends banner. He's going 4. That's the folks from the chat with their numbers. Very cool. Thanks for participating in that. Now let's talk about the issue itself. The title of it. Well, we'll let Delvin tell us.
While attending a demonstration in radiology, high school student Peter Parker was bitten by a spider which had accidentally been exposed to radioactive rays. Through a miracle of science, Peter soon found that he had gained the spider's powers and had, in effect, become a human spider, a Spider-Man.
Stanley presents The Amazing Spider-Man.
Arriving in the speed of time.
The title of this issue is Night of the Ape. I don't know. I wouldn't be Night of the Apes.
Delvin, say it with me. Ook, ook.
With about 6 minutes before recording, there's no bit tonight. And for that, I apologize. But apologies alone won't get a synopsis done, right? Right. Spidey swings into Empire State Campus and actually misses most of the action going on of Red Ghost and the Super Apes raiding a library annex. Poor Roger Hochberg was there and he was traumatized, surviving a fire the Super Apes inadvertently set because Spidey heard an alarm and saved Roger. Spidey did run into one of the apes, and that plays into the story in a bit. The Red Ghost doesn't like loose ends, and Roger seeing him, that's a loose end. Red Ghost handles loose ends by snuffing people, and so he sends his apes to do some recon. Peter gets involved by way of going to the Bugle and getting some ape intel and then running into Roger, who he invites to a party because Roger is a little socially inept, and it reminds Peter of a young him. Folks were a jerk to Roger at the party, and he runs off back to the annex, and that's when he's accosted again by Red Ghost and the Super Apes. A very good battle ensues, and when it looks like Spidey is about to win, Red Ghost disappears. The issue ends with the folks being a jerk to Roger, apologizing and winding up getting all the chicks, as one does. Back to you, Jared.
He did. He really did.
They even had like a 2 cool guys.
That's going to be my silly Spidey. I saw that and laughed immediately.
I've got that in my notes too.
We're jumping ahead.
We are jumping ahead because the first question in our Bric-a-Brac segment is this a first read or a reread? Rob Morgan, is this a first read for you, or did you read it back when you were little Robbie Morgan?
First read. Don't remember this one at all.
Fair enough. And then it's, according to script, it's over to Jared. Jared's first read or reread? Well, thank you, Jared. I think this is a first read. I think. I won't spoil it if it was. So over to Jason.
It's a first read for me, no doubt.
Delvin?
First read for me, Jared.
All right, then we've got it. It is a Reading Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow. Reading Rainbow.
Okay, guys, it is time for everyone's favorite part of the show. It's our highs, it's our lows, it's our what thes. We got 2 rounds of this. We will start once again with our guest, Mr. Morgan. Would you like to kick us off with a high or a low or a what the? Where are you going to go on this first round?
I'm going to go with a high. I guess you noticed in the credits in the actual issue, it credited Denny O'Neil with the plot, and J.M. DeMatteis, I have a hard time with that guy's name, actually wrote the script, and you could kind of tell because it's pretty funny. I didn't think much, again, jumping ahead to Spider-Man or Silly Spidey, his quips weren't all that great, but some of the captions made me laugh, and he had some alliterations in there that I'm sure made Stan really proud. My favorite was the caption that described a certain baleful baboon. Made me laugh out loud. It's not the best overall story, but I felt like DeMatteis filled in those word balloons and captions pretty well.
I would concur. J.M. DeMatteis, or however he pronounces that as well. He's, like you said, he's always remember him as the Justice League International guy, and that's a hilarious book. So,
right.
Yes, I think we saw some foreshadowing of that. Yeah, it's a good catch by you, Rob. And that means it's, according to the script, it's my turn to do high or low, but I won't, I won't do that. I'll bring it right around to Delvin. High, low, what the?
I can give a high to J.M. DeMatteis. I mean, heck, when I saw Romita, as soon as I saw Romita back on the book, I exhaled. I'm like, good. We got like a regular Spidey artist back, and not Joe Blow McGee on the book. Not to discredit anyone else ish, but it's Amazing Spider-Man. It's the flagship. Treat it like that, even though it wasn't that. It wasn't flagship back then. It was probably more of X-Men. Still, it's flagship to me, Jared. It's flagship.
Hey, it's a tent pole, right? At minimum.
That's right. It's a tent pole, if not a flagship. I feel like there needs to be another like pole flag analogy, but I don't have one right now, so I'll keep going. I like the action. Let's go with that. The action was fun. It was several pages of action of Spider-Man against some unique foes, and I just think that what I really liked about, let's see, Roger Stern it was Stern, right? That did the plotting?
Denny
O'Neill still.
Denny O'Neill did the plotting. And so there was a familiarity with Denny O'Neill with how he likes taking those secondary characters and putting them into the wacky world of Spidey, like he did with Lonesome Pincus, right? And then there's JMD Mateus, who likes doing that omniscient view of the characters, where he's sort of like the character isn't thinking these things, he's telling you what the character's thinking. I know that there's a term for it, but I'm blanking on that term. So it's because I remember reading that all throughout his spectacular Spidey run that came 14, 15 years later or whatever. So like seeing both of those styles merge together made for a pretty good, brisk, interesting story.
I agree. And I picked up the same theme you did, Delvin. I saw the Denny O'Neill in it because of Lonesome Pincus, and before the girl from the bar between Sandman and Hydra Man. I can't remember her name. Sandy? No, that's too on the nose.
I can't remember. I know what you're talking about, though. Yes.
But anyway, like he likes to take that person and kind of almost tell a sad story around them, and definitely a sign of the Denny run that I don't think I would have ever really noticed if we didn't do these shows. So
real quick, a note from Auburn Elvis. He says Roger Hochberg shows up from time to time, but I don't think he becomes a villain. If he does, I don't remember him.
Yeah, Matt Pasta would asked earlier in the chat if anybody knows if he reappears or becomes a villain. And so that's the answer. And we got Auburn Elvis for that because he's, I think, memorized every Amazing Spider-Man issue. And he's good for that in the chat.
If he's a villain, could we do like the wrestling like Hulkberg?
Yes, we can. And while Jason's on the mic, high, low, or what the?
Well, at the risk of beating a dead horse, I agree with what my predecessors have said here. When I saw this issue, I was like, my first instinct was, I'm not going to like this one. Who's this Red Ghost? This is going to be a filler issue. And with DeMatteis, however we say it, you're right. The prose itself was really good. And then when you paired it with Romita's art, which is what I'll focus on a little bit here, is it's just so good. It's so good at complementing the story. It makes the action scenes seem fluid. The library scenes were just incredible. When Spider-Man picks up that entire rack of books to bust it through the side to make his escape at the beginning and to rescue Hulkberg, that I thought that was just a amazing moment. So yeah, it could have been a very mediocre book, but between the writer and the artist, it popped.
Yeah, I think him lifting it up and using all his books to exit really spoke volumes about his character.
I was on mute, but I laughed.
Okay. And the fight in the library, everybody should totally check it out.
Volumes.
Anyway, so that's the end of round one. Round two, high, lower, what the Rob Morgan. Save us from my dad jokes.
It's a what the this time. Who the heck brings vinegar to a college party?
I would agree with that.
Just in case Hochberg comes by.
Hey, we're getting ready. Hey, one of the campus nerds might be at this party. Let's grab a bottle of vinegar.
Right. Break out that nerd vinegar, baby. It keeps all nerds away.
Yeah. And it'll be really funny if we spike his drink with vinegar. That was just bizarre. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I didn't think about it that deeply, but now that you pointed out, you're right. Like somebody was really planning ahead. Like, oh man,
somebody was getting vinegar in their drink. When Rod shows up, that he's toast.
Oh, good point. Well made. Let's go back to Delvin.
I want to riff off that too. I mean, I know there's a karma count coming up, and I would certainly hope that Peter got a whole bunch of karma for like flipping out at those idiots at the party. I loved it. It's like, why are you guys being jerks all this dude did was show up to the party, and he's trying to be social, and it probably took a lot for him to even get to that point. And they reward that by just being absolute jerks to him. Like, that actually made me mad. I was like, you guys are terrible people. And I was so glad that Peter Parker lit into them as like, you all are jerks. And I hope that, like, and he said something about basically like, all of y'all can just get flushed down the toilet or something like that. And it was like, yeah, that's right. Because they were, pieces of S. They deserved that insult. And I actually at least appreciate it. Like, somebody kind of speaking, I was like, yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Like, because they were. And like you shouldn't treat anyone like that. Like, I mean, it's a freaking college party. I could see if someone's being a jerk. If he's being a jerk, heck yeah, Spike is a drink with vinegar or something and send him packing. But just the dude being there? No, boo to them. So, but boo to them, but yay to Pete for speaking up for him. And I love the personal touch of O'Neill or DiMatteis just saying, yep, he kind of reminded me of me being introverted and not being able to talk to anyone. I know how it feels to just be that person that's left out. So kind of sticking up for the underdog and remembering where he came from. Big thumbs up to that.
I concur. Auburn Elvis mentions in the chat something that I did notice. He said, Peter broke the table that he hit. And I was like, yeah, you almost gave it away there.
but here's the no prize for that. It's college. You know that table's probably made out of press wood.
I bought it at the Goodwill for $2.
No, they found that on the side of the street, man.
It's a stain. We could just put a tablecloth over it. Nobody will see it.
See, this is why Peter's such a good dude, and why I couldn't have superpowers. Because if that happened to me, I would have been like, speech. Y'all are bad. I'd have been like, Spidey punch for you. Spidey punch for you. Spidey punch for you.
Whip.
And screw your table. Wham! Oh, over to Jason.
Mine's a simple can somebody tell me the Red Ghost? I know he's Russian and he has some control over these apes, and these apes have powers somehow. Can we build on that, please?
My suspicion, and anyone can jump in and correct me, like I said, I think he's Fantastic Four villain. I think they were cosmonaut. Like, it was him and his ape cosmonauts in space that got lit up by the cosmic rays. But I'm betting if we wait long enough, Albert Elvis will square us away in the chat.
Yeah, but I think what Jared's saying was right. And each of the three apes have a certain power. And as you can see, Red Ghost has the power of intangibility. So he can and invisibility as well. So kind of a unique, formidable foe. And you could see how they would be suited to go up against the Fantastic Four. Probably overpowered by the Avengers, for that matter, probably overpowered by the Fantastic Four, but still.
A quick check of Wikipedia. Their first appearance was in Fantastic Four number 13. So they've been around a while at this point.
Okay, Auburn Elvis does add an interesting layer, and I knew he would. We were right. They were Russians. They were actually trying to duplicate the FF space flight to get powers, and successful he was. He got the power of bad haircuts, and there you have it.
It's a Russian mullet, party in the back, and
Communist Party in the back.
Under in the front. I'm not sure. The joke kind of stalled there.
Well, yeah, there you have it with the Red Ghost as the villain in this one. Anyone have any burning thoughts before we start talking about silliness? Any burning thoughts left on this book?
I hope it's building to something. I don't know whether or not this was a one-off or not, but I need to see Spidey build to something. We've been saying that for a couple of months. They've been doing the one-offs. It's like, are we going to get a story again?
Yeah, a little wheel spinning.
Yeah.
We still don't know why Red Ghost was going into that library in the first place.
He spoke about it. There was some book that he wanted that he didn't get because the apes kind of screwed it up. Hold on.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out what his long game is,
Yeah, let's see. He says we had only to locate a rare mathematical treatise which would prove an invaluable aid in my attempt to increase our cosmic ray-induced powers. So, he's kind of like Tito Daka, radium.
Radium. That's the whole plan.
To what Delvin was saying, and I agree, and y'all have been talking about it on the show, that Denny O'Neill's been the regular writer on this book for like a year, and yet it felt like he was writing filler issues almost every time out. But the good news is the very next issue is Roger Stern takes over, and you want something to happen, give it a little more than a year. No spoilers for these 40-year-old comics, but he and JR Jr. are going to introduce a character that is kind of a big deal soon.
I'm hoping it's Stegra.
We've already seen Madam Web, so who could it be?
But that's an interesting point, Rob. We've had Denny for a while now, and I do feel a bit like wheel spinners. Although, again, like I said, thanks to us doing the show, I really do see it as the arc where we see people who are a bit more down on their luck and how that flows around Spider-Man. And that's kind of fun for a while, but I do agree we need a bigger storyline, because we've run through some big ones on the show and it's been fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can't all be Ghost to Hammerhead.
Mm-hmm.
If only.
The Vulture is up next, and then I think Black Cat comes back soon, and then, like I said, there's a big one that's created by Stern and Romita coming very soon. Since you can go spin through Marvel Unlimited and find it pretty quickly, but
I'm not sure who he's
real world time. It's about I guess about 13 issues from now, something like that.
I think it's Hobgoblin is what I think it is.
It's Hobgoblin. That's issue 238, right?
Man, spoilers
for a 40-year-old comic.
Don't worry, dude. You'll forget in a year and 3 months.
All right, with all that, with our super secret spoilers, if you want to know more about the Hobgoblin, go to patreon.com/ I'm just kidding. We're not writing any articles about Hobgoblin. Silly Spidey, what moment made you chuckle or smile or laugh in this issue? We will start with Rob Morgan.
I think I said earlier, none of Spider-Man's quips did much for me, but I did laugh when he's at the Bugle and JJ says, "I'm not paying you good money to sit around in your duffs." And Peter responded, "When did you start paying good money?" That one made me laugh. So that's, it was the maskless Spidey, silly Spidey, I guess.
J. Jonah Jameson is always good for a silly Spidey moment, either giving or receiving. And then did Peter say, he said something like, "Are you sassing me, boy?" or something like that. Peter was like, "What I do that?"
Perish the thought or something like that after he said that. Yeah.
All right, silly Spidey to Jason.
Well, Captain Morgan took mine. I thought the same thing. I thought that was the moment that made me laugh, because that's what wise guy Peter Parker would say, and to see Jonah's reaction to it, that was funny too.
And Delvin.
And we already talked about it, but a little bit of that omniscient dialogue of from DeMatteis, since he wrote the script. 100 voices buzz, chatter, giggle, and shriek. The air is pregnant with a sweet, smoky scent. And into this modern day bacchanal stride, two fun guys. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, yep. And the rest of the folks in the room were freaking chumps.
Yeah, we would have had to left that one for Pat.
Well, I'm actually gonna give one out here for Pat. The downside of being the Leo of the group and always having to be ultra prepared is I read this like 6 days ago, so I don't remember, and I read it digitally. I don't have it in front of me. So Delvin, I need your help. Spidey used a Pat phrase early in the book.
Bunky.
Was it Bunky? Okay. So I was like, earmark that for Pat. And so, he actually called somebody Bunky, which I know Pat loves. So I'll just toss that out there during Silly Spidey.
Yep. When he was rescuing Roger, he says, "Not to worry, Bunky. The cavalry's here."
There you go. Makes me smile now because I know how Pat loves it. Okay, guys, it's time to rate the story. And in case you forgot from earlier, I'm going to break that down for you. People in the chat, if you've read the book, give it a rating 1 to 5. If you haven't, Kathy, just guess based on what our discussion has been on. And here's a reminder, the rating system. 5 is you loved it. It tickled your tummy feathers. There we go. 4 means you really liked it. 3 means you liked it. 2 means you didn't like it. And 1 means you hated it. It ruffled your tummy feathers.
Freaking drank some
vinegar on the tummy feathers. No good. We start with Rob Morgan.
I think I'm going to go with a 4 on this. When I first got the assignment, I think a couple of months ago, I read through the issue and didn't think much of it, but I came back to it this week. I think I mentioned earlier, I think you have to grade some of these comics on a curve that were published this long ago. They still went with the every issue, somebody's first issue way of recapping things. But when I went back to it kind of with that in mind, I enjoyed it a lot more when I read it again to get ready for the show. So yeah, I'm going with a 4.
Respectable 4. Over to Delvin.
I'm at a 4 also. I was happy to see Romita Jr. back. I was happy to see some good, consistent writers back. I was definitely happy to see Glennis Sween back, and I was happy to see a good fight. We didn't talk about the fight between Spidey and the Super Apes, but it kind of remarked upon me, like, when we started reading Spidey just at the start of Chronicles back in like 148 or whatever, if you think about Len Wein Spidey, sometimes he was kind of weak. And it seemed like he was getting beat by almost like run-of-the-mill street dudes, and like a regular dude would punch him and he's like, ah. And at somewhere along the way, they sort of started saying, look, like Pete's either he's matured and he's got a little bit stronger or something. But in this case, like in order to get out of the library, he literally ran through a wall. Like, I mean, he showcased his strength. And then during the fight, there were several times where it looked like he may have been dead to rights, but he used his strength and his agility to just stay one step ahead of 4 very tough foes. So I appreciated that too. All of that makes it a 4 for me.
Good. And one thing I forgot to bring up in our discussion that actually brought it down just a little for me is they did that classic, my spider sense has gone off, but whatever. He's like,
well, he didn't say, he did note it, but he's like, well, it's gone now. So yeah, he didn't just go run off to investigate it. And I was happy it wasn't Roger, you know, I just would rather Roger be a good guy. I don't know.
Yeah. But I'm just talking about sort of in the past, we've had this complaint that he'll be like, my spider sense went off, but you know, what have you, like that? You should pay attention to that. Buddy. Yeah. It's there for a reason. But anyway, we're here to score these things, and it's Jason's turn.
I'm going to go for a 4 as well. I was thinking one of the really kind of fun things about this book for me was because I didn't know the Red Ghost. I didn't know his powers. I didn't know that apes even had powers until I discovered it through reading this. And Spider-Man's facing him for the first time as well. So it's kind of like I'm in Spider-Man's shoes. I'm finding this out as it develops, and it was a lot of fun for me. So I guess maybe I set the bar low with as far as expectations are concerned, and man, they were exceeded. So 4 from me.
I like that take. I'll join you. I'll join you with the 4. I will. It's Red Ghosts and the apes. You know, I'm a sucker for the apes kind of stuff, but like those aren't villains that wow me. So I think with you, Jason, kind of like I was kind of like when I going into it, and then going, okay, well, this was fun. And I think a lot of it had to do with what Delvin kind of talked about too in our rounds, just, you know, how cool he was to the kid who was an outsider, you know,
absolutely
he's no stranger to that. He's no stranger to that. And that was always nice to see. Going to the chat.
Matt Paso said, I read it last night. I'd have to give it a 3. Was thinking a 2, but that felt a little too harsh since it did have good peak moments. Kathy gave it a 3. She said, I will say 3. Not convinced it would thrill me, so I will stay in the middle of the road. Auburn Elvis said, I'll give the story a 3.5, bumped up to a 4. Always good to bump up. Auburn Elvis. Thank you, Jared. And yes, Kathy forgot or wanted to remind us that we need to open the door, get on the floor, everybody walk with the dinosaur. There we go. All right.
It was a night like that. Oh, sorry. I was really getting into that one. Well, seems like we have but one thing left to do when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man. It's probably 87% of the reason that Auburn Elvis joined us in the chat today. It's not fair. He always joins us in the chat anyway. All right, let's give this karma count from Auburn Elvis a listen. Hey, you guys want to guesses before we start? It's been a fun game.
Bad guy escaped at the end, but Spidey
saved the life at the beginning.
I'm going to go 40.
40.
I'm going 70, man. I think he deserved a whole lot of karma for standing up to that whole crowd, man. That was a lot of peer pressure, and he stood up to him.
70. Rob, do you want to play?
Yeah, I'm thinking the karma might be reduced because he does beat up some animals. Is PETA involved with the karma count?
They're Russian animals, though. So
yeah, well, that's true. Damn commie apes. So maybe that increases it. What the hell? I'll go with a 50.
All right, I'll do $1 just for the hell of it. So. I didn't see damn commie apes being on tonight's program, but it's funny. Let's find out from Albert Elvis.
Bet you're a red-backed orangutan.
I guess I'm your karma, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. There's nothing above it.
Hi Crusaders, this is Auburn Elvis. Have you ever wondered if superheroes can improve their strength by working out? Well, according to the 1984 Marvel superhero role-playing game, they can, but it ain't easy. In the game, heroes gain and lose karma points for how heroic their actions are. Karma can be saved up over time and spent to improve a hero's ability scores. Improving an ability costs 10 times its current score, so if Spider-Man wanted to improve his strength of a 40 to a 41, it would cost him 400 karma. And to give you an idea of how long it would take Spidey to earn that much karma, here's the karma count for his actions in this issue. Amazing Spider-Man 223 starts off with Spidey putting in some late-night study time at ESU. Peter's work is soon interrupted by the fire alarm coming from the library. Once he arrives as Spider-Man, the interior is fully aflame. After a weird run-in with the Red Ghost baboon henchman, Spidey manages to rescue a fellow grad student, Roger Hoochberg. He'll gain 20 karmas for the rescue and only lose 5 karma for the property destruction of breaking through the building's wall. The next day, Peter does some research at the Bugle to find out more about the shape-changing primate he saw in the library fire. He has a very snappy comeback for J. Jonah Jameson that's worth 5 points of a role-playing bonus. Armed with only a tiny bit of knowledge about his foe, Peter returns to campus in the hopes Roger might be able to share some useful details from the fire. He witnesses a group of students playing a mean prank on Roger, and he snaps. He's going to lose 5 karma for the property destruction in that outburst, but it does seem to get his point across. As night falls, Peter spots the Red Ghost and his minions stalking Roger, and switches back into his costume just in time to free Roger from his captors. Spidey draws the villains away from Roger, with their battle eventually ending up in the campus stadium during a live track meet. There are several incidents of property damage that will cost Spidey 10 karma. And just as Spidey seems to gain the upper hand, the Red Ghost and his band split to avoid the ever-escalating encounter. With the danger resolved, our hero gains another 30 karma for saving Roger, and then the story ends with a nice scene of Roger getting sincere attention from the lovely ladies that had previously been so mean to him. Peter doesn't gain any karma from this, but hopefully he's gained some perspective in how to treat other people. But that's a question for another story. In this issue, Spider-Man earned a total of 40 karma. That's not a lot, but if he were to do this kind of thing 9 more times, he'd earn enough karma to improve his strength from a 40 to a 41. I'm Auburn Elvis. Thank you very much for listening to this karma count. All right, Joe November, play us some of that track and field interlude music.
I guess I'm your karma, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. There's nothing above it.
Well, I guess you don't get for standing up for your buddy.
Couldn't have gone 39, could you? No.
Well.
39 would have made me the winner.
Man, we talked this whole show about how one of the bravest and noblest things he did was help out old Holberg, and he gets dock karma for it. He got docked karma for that.
I tell you what.
Oh, I think Auburn was the East German judge. I think that's what's happening here.
I have nothing wrong with how Auburn was rated. I thought it was fair. I thought it was just. I thought it was fair and just.
One more point lower, and I would have won this dang thing. Karma count's just becoming so contentious these days.
It's become the new Hallie. That's what it's become.
Yes, it has. I miss the Hallies. Well, I mean, you guys probably don't because you never won any. I won them all, but
what?
That's not even true.
That brings us to the end of this part of the show.
Erroneous.
That brings us to the end of this part of the show. Remember, if you got a comment or question, you can send an email to contact@LongBox Crusade. We're at LongBox Crusade on all kinds of the social medias too. You can find us there. So, you know what? We'll be right back.
To confront the ultimate killers, I must construct the ultimate alias.
Hey, who is that lady? I think she could fly.
To combat the murderers who destroy my family, crush my own life on their way to consuming everything, I must become a greater, more fearsome destroyer.
Hey man, somebody kill this lady.
To track down the animals who prey on the innocent, I must stalk them first. I am no longer their quarry. I am the huntress.
You can listen to the Huntress Podcast online at thehuntress.podcast.com, at Apple Podcasts. Go to Twitter at Huntress Podcast. And again, this shares a feed with the Batgirl Cassandra Cain podcast. Cheers.
Welcome back for the break. Wow, let's get to the second featured comic for this episode, which is determined by our Crusaders Club members, cool people like Rob Morgan. Crusaders Club members get to vote on the segment using the online poll available only at Longbox Crusade's Patreon.com page. As always, we want to thank our Crusaders Club members for voting to help determine the programming of the show, even though I'm certain some of you are out there picking X-Men just to destroy me. If you want to get in on the voting and all the other amazing benefits of being a Crusaders Club member, go to patreon.com/longboxcrusade. For as little as $1 a month, you can help determine what each episode's second feature will be. And for this time around, you guys selected Uncanny X-Men number 152. All right, back to Mike's Amazing World. And Mike lets us know that X-Men 152 is published by Marvel.
You're getting it.
I'm getting it.
A few hundred more times, man.
Its cover date was December of 1981. Its on-sale date was September 8th of 1981, just 1 week after the Spidey book. Cover price, 50 cents. Editor, Louise Simonson. Writer is Chris S. Claremont.
Esquire.
Still doing it. Penciler is Bob McLeod. Of the Clan McLeod.
Only one? Okay.
I almost did it without, but I can't. Bob McLeod, the Clan McLeod. Inker is Joe Rubenstein, and the letter is Janice Chang, and the colorist is Don Warfield.
Boo. Who's that?
More like Don Barfield.
Oh, man. Anybody who's not Glynis just doesn't do well on this show. All right. This is a very popular era of X-Men, so it's reprinted in lots of different places to include X-Men Classic number 56 in 1991, X-Men Essentials Volume 3 trade paperback, Marvel Masterworks Volume 151, which is Uncanny X-Men Volume 7 hardcover, the Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 2 hardcover, and the X-Men Epic Collection I Magneto trade paperback for 2022. And oh, by the way, it's on Marvel Unlimited. Cover credits go to Bob McLeod.
There can be only one.
Of the Clan McLeod. Let's hand it over to Jared for the cover description. Well, thank you, Jared. Get ready for some originality. The Marvel Comics banner is missing, or should I say replaced. It's not for a 10-speed bike this time. This is actually much more fun because it's for an ad for the upcoming new cartoon on NBC Saturday morning, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. And if you're interested, the ad is green with white lettering. The floating heads of Wolverine, Colossus, Storm, Kitty Pryde, Nightcrawler, and Cyclops are in the blue corner box. The Uncanny X-Men logo is a blue to green fade with red highlights. The main action is, let's just say Professor X probably should not be reading my mind right now. It's Storm and the White Queen battling in the air as all the other X-Men look on from below. And I cannot help but think of that scene from Undercover Brother. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about.
You're an idiot.
Girls are fighting in the shower. Undercover Brother's fighting the other guy. And the two guys fighting stop to watch the girls fight in the shower. So with our 14-year-old maturity out of the way, let's...
Professor X looks like he's about to get up and walk.
he's like, I can do it. I can do it. Anyways, let's I was about to say our immaturity out of the way. Let's give our cover thoughts, but there might be more immaturity coming. Who knows? Rob Morgan, you gonna be mature or what?
I am a grown, mature adult, and I will not be getting down in the gutter with this prurient description of the cover here.
I gotta look at what prurient means.
The cover of the cool. No, I see the seal right there. But are we sure this was approved by the Comics Code Authority? Because I'm kind of with all the people on the ground. I see Kitty, has her hands over her mouth. I would probably be staring up at this action just like they are, and I guess that's why none of them come to Storm's aid, because they're just enjoying the view. It looks like,
yeah, just undercover brothers. All I can think about when I see this.
Colossus is like, Wolverine fastball special, and Wolverine's like, I don't think you should be grabbing me down there right now.
Time out, all right, everybody, time out.
Hold on, Grandma. Okay, all right.
You know what? The other thing I'm going to add real quick, in a moment of maturity, I guess it's just, Bob McLeod's really known as an inker. And man, that dude can draw. Like, this cover is solid, and the whole book is solid. We're going to talk about that some more. But I was just like, man, if you had told me, like, if we were just flipping through these and you're like, oh, cool burn cover, I'd have been like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, wait a second, it's not. But McLeod, dude's got some skills. Delvin.
Agreed, Jared. Mr. McLeod does have some skills, and it's a cat fight, and it's like, oh man, they're all up in the sky like that. I don't think that Emma's like shoes would stay on, and we'd have to just have the misfortune of seeing her beautifully manicured feet, and you know what? We should probably just move on to talk about something else in the cover, right? It was very, two gorgeous ladies fighting though, and it definitely accurately portrays something that happens in the book as well, even though not necessarily quite in a way that you would expect it if you picked up the cover based off the events of last issue. So very good teaser. No pun intended, for the rest of the issue. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Tommy feathers are tickled. Over to Jason.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, man, the artist rotation that they've had on this book. It's like the Atlanta Braves pitching rotation from the 90s when they had like Glavine and Maddox and Smoltz and Avery. It's just like they don't run out of good artists. And I know we made fun of Don Warfield there, but it was good natured. I mean, the colors on this are great. The layout is great. You're right. We'll get that out of the way. But I mean, they managed to get all of the X-Men in there. It doesn't look crowded. And I like how they have the ladies in the foreground and the X-Men logo tucked back a little bit. It all really works. It's really well done. It's not Byrne. It's not Cockrum. And it's still great.
And much like, Glavine and Maddox, we've got a pair of aces. I'm going on mute.
Thank goodness that this was not a Cockrum cover, because my description would have been just... Anyways.
The rock hard Cockrum. Is that what you said?
Let's move on. Let's rate this cover. I think someone else with a modicum of maturity, I think it was Matt Poster in the chat, did mention that the coloring work is pretty good, especially on the logo. We haven't really seen a color faded logo, and I gotta be honest with you folks, the one I have up is the digital reprint of it. The color fade is not as good here as it is on the actual cover. It's even better on the actual cover. The logo fade, it fades a little smoother. Just look at the fancy guys with the books. But yeah, it's a cool effect. And oh, by the way, color wheel says green pops red, red pops green, so they knew what they were doing. All right, guys and gal in the chat, feel free to rate. Oh, we have gals in the chat. I forgot we have multiple this evening. Feel free to rate the cover on a scale of 1 to 5. And on the X-Men side, a 5 means you loved it and it gave you a ring to swing from. Whee! 4 means you really liked it. And all right, I'm going to leave spaces for Jason. 3 means you liked it.
Yeah, I'm good.
2 means you didn't like it. So 1, you hated it. If Chewbacca showed up and turned you into a baby. All right, let's score these things. I'm going to go ahead and go first because I'm on the script and I'm going to set the bar. And I'm going to say, if you'd said Bob McLeod on the X-Men cover, I would have gone, it's a 3. This is a 4. And not just because it is what it is, but I think it's a really good cover. I think it's a good layout. I think it's a dynamic fight. And again, I get excited because, I'm mostly ink comics. And when I see an inker doing this kind of work, I'm like, wow, he did a great job. So I'm going to start at a sort of 4. Delvin, where are you going to go from there?
I'll read the comments. Everybody in the comment section gives this book a 5. Auburn Elvis gave it a 5. Kathy gave it a 5. Let's see. And was there another 5? Did Matt Passo give it a 5?
Leslie gave it a hot.
So yeah, there are a couple of 5s. I'm with you.
That's my anyway. I'm a lucky guy, gentlemen.
Clearly.
Rob, we need to take a little break. Do we need to take about 10-minute break?
I'll see her tomorrow night. We'll take care of that.
I'm not convinced that's not Rob on another account in the chat. Say it.
I'll give it a 4. Very, very good cover. Like, we've already done enough silly jokes about it or whatever, so no more silly jokes, but fantastic cover. And you're right. What an embarrassment of riches that Chris Claremont has, where like you have some people with pretty good books and good plots, and then it's like, and here's Joker McGee, like writing and drawing the book, and everyone's like, I'm not reading this. This book looks dumb. And like the writer's like, and Chris Claremont's like, I got rid of Jim Lee, and then Will Spostasio came on my book. And before that was John Romita Jr.
And Byrne.
And Byrne.
Alan Davis from time to time.
And Dave Cockrum. That couldn't be me with you and your poverty book. It's like the embarrassing, just like they had another, like they were, I can't remember the last guy that guessed it, that they were hyping a book that he was on, and he did a good job. Yeah. The Swamp Thing dude, whoever that was like, he was good.
I think that was Joker McGee.
It was not. It wasn't Joker McGee. It was like somebody else, maybe Batman McGee. I don't know. Either way.
Joker McGee was the coach at Kentucky several years ago, right?
It was Brett Anderson. How do I remember
the
that?
artist, not the coach at Kentucky.
Yeah, the coach at Kentucky was Tubby Smith. But yeah, Brett Anderson was
the Joker Phillips, actually. Now that I think about it.
Oh, okay. Yep. So anyway, yes. So for Jason.
I was looking at our last script, and it was James T. Sherman who did the cover and the interior art, I think.
That's cool.
Yep. So, yeah, it's been a couple really good guest artists. I'm going to go 4. I agree with everything that's been said. I might have this up on my wall, but for different reasons.
Not in the family room, though, right?
No. This is for the boudoir.
It's like, and we're going through Jason Albrecht's room with the ultraviolet. Oh my god!
Oh my goodness! I'd pay $10 to hear Pat say boudoir.
Boudoir.
And on that note, Jason, when you collect yourself, let's get a story synopsis.
The title of this one was The Hellfire Gambit, and it's the conclusion to our Freaky Friday story arc. The Hellfire Club has successfully beaten the X-Men on their own turf. Only Kitty and Aurora remain at large, pursued by the White Queen in Storm's body. Storm, stuck in the body of Emma Frost, has a tough time convincing Kitty that she's actually who she says she is. Gradually, through her actions, Storm is able to convince the young mutant of her bona fides, and the two concoct a clever plan to enter the Xavier estate and liberate their friends. Inside the estate, our merry band of mutant heroes are kept subdued and forced to watch as Wolverine is horribly beaten and, in air quotes, killed. When all is said and done, however, the X-Men use their combined resourcefulness and pull off an escape that culminates in a fierce battle and decisive victory for our team.
Culmination. Love it. Well done, Jason. Let's get into the bric-a-brac. First read or reread. If anybody's going to ruin it, it's going to be Jason. We'll let him go first.
No, I'm not ruining this one. This is one of those where I had a gap in my collection, and I've bought the issues and just never had a chance to read them till this moment. So this was a first read for me.
Oh, Rob, first read for you?
First read.
Delvin.
It's a first read, Jared.
Oh, it's a first read for me too. So it's a reading rainbow.
Double rainbow today.
Double rainbow and no Pat, man. Pat misses double rainbow.
Man, Pat, we double rainbowed it up just for you, buddy. Boop, 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 boop. All right, 2 rounds, high, lows. What does? We're going to start with Rob Morgan.
My first one was a high. It's hard to explain, or at least hard to say, since we've got a body swap situation. I liked the way Storm, while she was in Emma Frost's body, through the issue, figured out how to use Emma Frost's powers. And at the end, the resolution, when Emma Frost lost control of Storm's powers, was Storm in Emma Frost's body used Emma Frost's powers to help Emma Frost get back control of Storm's powers. Thought that was a cool way to resolve the story, if that made any sense. It makes sense in the book. I don't know if it made sense what I just said, but that was I enjoyed that part of the story.
I tracked you, and I have to admit that I've once again dropped the ball since Pat's not here. I believe we all rated that cover a 4.
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka. Fours all around.
And if it hadn't been for Kathy in the chat, she's keeping an eye on it. Well, I appreciate that, Kathy. But I did follow the logic, Rob. And my only, you know what? I'll save my complaint. I got to play the role of Pat. Let everybody else talk. Let's hear from Jason.
Since when does Pat let everybody else talk?
I'm trying to set a standard. Maybe you'll notice.
Yeah, I'll build on what Rob said. I liked that scene in the book, and I liked how Storm didn't know how to control those mental powers at first, and it shows how close she was to Jean. That Jean shared so much of how hard it was for them to use her powers, that she was able to learn from her friend and take control of those powers.
Well, I agree. Delvin?
For a story that was somewhat complex, in that Emma Frost shot Storm with this ray gun, Freaky Friday thing happened, and they switched. I thought that Claremont kept the action and the explanation of it very clean, so that you understood who was occupying what or what person's body in a very complex storyline. And so with that, a little more immaturity. Cannot blame Sebastian Shaw at all. You know, it's like is Storm gonna ever kiss me? Probably not. Is Emma Frost and Storm's body gonna kiss me? Yes. Technically it counts. So yeah. So props to Claremont, and wink and a nod, props to Sebastian Shaw.
All right. I concur with everything everyone said. Here's my complaint for the issue, and it's going to be a very un-Jared-like complaint. I want you to prepare yourself for what I'm about to say.
Are you going to say there weren't enough words in this issue?
You're close. I kind of wish Claremont had drugged this out a bit, like the whole infiltrated. Because I thought this might be a multiple issue thing, like infiltrated, how they can set that up. Like that's a good storyline where you're like, oh my gosh, how long are they going to get away with having this inside mole, in the X-Men? And it was basically like next issue, he's like, and wrap it up. And I was like, no, man, there's so much more you can do with that.
Even though there was some lingering feelings though. Like Emma was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go. And yeah, you can have Kitty back." Oh, good show.
But I just thought, like, just to be very intriguing to have that mole in the X-Men for a while. I would have maybe drugged that out a bit more. It's not something I normally say about Claremont. But anyway, let's go back to the top of the order and get back to Rob on round 2.
I had 2 things here. Which one do I want to choose? Because I had a low for Wolverine's low blow on that guy, but I think I'm going to go with a what the, because we already mentioned it. After Storm does kind of save the day, she declares her victory by removing her own clothes in the sky for everyone to see. That's a what the to me. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that anybody's complaining, but I'm not sure it made a whole lot of sense.
That's all the time we have for Rob. He's no longer welcome on the show. He's right, though. It was weird. I would have sworn John Byrne was penciling this one.
Who invited Rob?
That was a very John Byrne decision. That's not why.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently Byrne and McLeod had like cubicles next to each other, and Byrne was like leaning over, like, "Hey, lose the clothes." Granted, it was weird. Jason.
Well, I'll give another high. Way back when we started reading these X-Men comics, Wolverine was a kind of a misfit with the team, and I kind of knew. Well, I did know because I'd read this for a while that Wolverine would gradually ingratiate himself and become more of a team member. And I think we're really seeing it in this book. He not only, I like the low blow on Leland. Like they tied him up and they're like, "We're going to mess you up." And he's like, "Well, you'll be getting as well as given on this endeavor."
He said, you and who else?
That's right. Tubbo. I loved it, man. And when old boy Cole started messing with him, he's like, "I don't need my claws to take you out," and just so we got those cool moments, but we also got him admitting, I'm a warrior. Maybe people think that's cool, but I really look up to you, Storm, because you fight without killing. You show us a better way. And he was so afraid of her taking that step and killing Emma that probably the last person you would ever expect to step in and stop her was him, and I thought that was so cool. And it's really, these are the seeds that are planted that carry over time. Why this team is like a family. I know the Fantastic Four are like the first family, but this is a fun, dysfunctional family that has deep love and affection for each other. We saw a lot of that in this book.
Wholeheartedly agree, Jason. I was definitely going to bring up that scene if nobody else did. What a good scene with Wolverine saying, "Hey, I'm a killer. It's what I do. It's not what you do." And it kind of put me in mind of a issue of New Warriors that Delvin and I read on Come Out to Play. It's a live stream you can catch the second Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. Central Time. LONGBOX CRUSADE. But I believe the Punisher showed up, and I basically had a similar talking to with Night Thrasher. And he was like, "Yeah, you guys are in the game, and you want to be like me? Yeah, this ain't the life for you, kid." This ain't it. And I thought that was pretty good. So yeah, a really great Wolverine moment, Jason, and I'm glad you brought it up. Delvin, what do you got?
I can talk some more about Wolverine because he had 2 moments. There is a moment where I guess one of the Hellfire Club goons, Cole, was like, "They made us into cyborgs, man, and to handle people like you." And Wolverine's like, "And?"
Cool story, bro.
You're still human. Like, so like you're talking about putting you're not worth killing. I'm not putting you out your misery. Do something with your life. And I'm like, dang. I mean, but to me, that adds a little bit of gravitas, a little bit of character to Wolverine as opposed to slash, kill, snarl, blah, blah, blah. And you got on my nerves, bub. I mean, you're like, no, like they haven't really talked about him being a shogun and having that background, but that kind of is what it reminded me of where it's like, no, like I'm not taking your life because there's not a reason for me to take your life. So I will not do it. And it's like, and I dug that because like, otherwise, I mean, that's kind of the line. If you are a quote unquote hero who has to kill, then like you should have a discrimination about who it is that you are offing, and not, okay, everybody was in my way and I just mowed down everyone because I just felt like doing it. It's like, no, that you're a psychopath now. Like if there's a strategic reason for you to take down someone, then yes. And that's what Wolverine did, and I really appreciate it.
Well said. Matt Passo mentions in the chat that he doesn't care for Wolverine in general, but he thought this was a good moment, and went on to say, I think if I saw this Wolverine more, I'd possibly have a different view on him. And that really reminded me that I guess I've tolerated his attitude. I guess he hadn't had the best attitude since he's been introduced, right? But this is early Wolverine. But because my first real dive into Wolverine was the Kitty Pryde and Wolverine mini, and he's much more fatherly in that. And so that's how I knew him initially. And so I think it really depends on where you find Wolverine, on how you feel about Wolverine. Just a little thought I had sparked from the chat.
It was a favorite of mine, the Kitty Pryde and Wolverine 6-issue mini from the mid 80s. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think Jason bought them, and I was like, oh, I'll read these. And I was like, man, it even at the ripe old age of about 10, I was like, man, these are pretty good. Wolverine's not what I thought he was, basically, as I was reading it. But yeah, good stuff there. I tell you what, did anybody else here feel like maybe time's gone by fast? Because he was like, hey, I remember when you fought us, cyborgian guys before, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was what, a dozen issues ago? That was 30 issues ago.
Or something like longer. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 25 years or something. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How long have we been podcasting about this?
Yeah, wow, right?
It's been a minute.
They introduced the Hellfire Club. Hellfire Club has always been a menace to the X-Men, has always put them through their paces. And like they certainly did the first time, because that was the introduction of Kitty Pryde. And sure enough, Kitty moving to White Queen's Academy is what led to this backdoor story that involved the Hellfire Club. It always seems to involve Kitty, at least in the early going.
Just to close out the loop on our thoughts, Matt Passo adds, for me, it was the oversaturation of him getting between Scott and Jean. And I can understand that because from a G.I. Joe angle, I'm all about Snake Eyes and Scarlet. And every time some writer tries to come in and be like, I'm going to make it Duke and Scarlet, I'm like, you get the hell out of here. So there you have it. I think we've done our couple rounds, and I believe it's time to talk about Extra Mile. Who went the extra mile for this issue? Rob?
I think it's Storm again, because in addition to what I talked about earlier, she also, through her actions, was able to convince Kitty that, no, this is me, when, she looked like Emma Frost. So she kind of won the day in this. So I think it's got to be Storm.
Yeah. It's a very Storm-centric issue. It makes a lot of sense. Jason, you going to go with the Storm, or you going to prop up your boy Logan for his moments?
I'm going to prop up my boy Logan for his moments. I think in terms of like what could have possibly been a what-if story, it could have been what if Storm had killed the White Queen in this issue, and we could have had a very radically different X-Men without Storm as she is today in that leadership mold. And it's Wolverine, the last person you would expect, the one that you would expect to most support what she was doing, as his history indicates, people taking over his mind and his body. And yet he steps in and does a noble thing while still doing some pretty cool, tough stuff in this book. So for me, it's Wolverine.
I like it. I'm working on a what if, call it what if White Queen and Storm solve their problems with a tickle fight. Delvin.
Huh?
Who with the extra mile?
I will go with Wolverine too, for a lot of reasons that Jason said, and he called Leland Tubbo. There was
need him in the growing.
There was some reel that I saw. I can't remember. I shared with you now. It's been a while ago, but it was some dude who was just like, oh, hey, I'm out here just trying to get back into it, getting into shape. And then someone in the back was like, hey, Tubbo. And the guy was just like, it's such a simple insult. But if somebody called me Tubbo, it would hurt. It's like, do we have to fight? I think we might have to fight. I don't know. So all of that, all the above, Wolverine.
Yeah, I think Wolverine and Storm are definitely the standouts. I'll just pick a little moment that I kind of liked. I've always been a big sort of Colossus guy. I like Colossus quite a bit. And I believe he was the one when Wolverine had been killed, he was like, I'm going to make this right. I'm going to straighten this out. And I was like, yeah, that's my guy right there. That's my guy, Colossus. And I think Nightcrawler is pretty salty too, because I think there's always been a brotherly relationship between Wolverine and Nightcrawler.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Those two are close friends.
So I like seeing those react. We all know it's fake. Like, A, you can't kill Wolverine, and B, C-A. You can't kill Wolverine. Few people in the chat
nailed me in the face, too. That was a good punch.
And in the nets. We had some folks in the chat weigh in with some extra miles. Matt Passo, I get the extra mile for going the extra mile with the what if concept. He also says Wolverine with the extra mile for bringing Storm back from the edge.
Auburn Elvis had a joke, and Auburn Elvis said, I'm going with Charles Xavier for not saying a darn word this whole issue. That must have really been tough.
Yeah. You know, I guess I have to stand corrected on my idea from earlier about dragging it out and letting her infiltrate, because wouldn't Professor X suss that out pretty fast? Or, of course, she's got similar abilities. Maybe she could block her, but he'd know something was up, wouldn't he?
Professor X is a more powerful telepath than Emma Frost.
Right. I just think he would know something was up if she was hanging out as Storm pretty quick.
Or there would have been something, just the way that she would have acted overall. It's like, okay, like something's off. Like, why is she acting more like a B word than the nice, lovable, friendly Storm that we all know and love?
And Wolverine's the kind of guy that might notice, because he, like, as I understand, like, he understands how people move.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, that she's not moving right.
And one thing that they kept hinting at, they hinted at last issue 2, was that she did have an understanding and she tried to manipulate the weather, but she didn't have the finesse.
Yeah, she did.
Storm did. And it wound up like absolutely about to take over everything. So that probably would have happened sooner rather than later, because she couldn't control the totality of Storm's powers.
Poking holes in my own theory here, but that's all right. Yeah. That's what makes comics fun, talking about this stuff.
Well, on the flip side of the coin, too, on when Storm was in Emma's body trying to convince Kitty, I like that how she's like, okay, I'll trust you enough to untie you, and she's like, oh, I already did that like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, you are Storm. Okay,
she's like, she might be Storm.
All right, now it's time to rate the story. As a reminder, the 5 is you loved it and it gave you a ring to swing from. And 4 was you really liked it. And 3 was you liked it. And 2, you didn't like it. And 1, you hated it. Feel free to chime in the chat while we discuss. We start with Rob.
I'm going to go 4 again, I think. Enjoyed it a lot. This was a little before my time as an X-Men reader. And X-Men was just never my favorite book for reasons that, Jared, same reason.
My brother.
The funny thing is, I will say, I used to think X-Men was a good bargain because it took so much longer to read than every other comic book. But yeah, I was a late comer to the X-Men, and so I know, broad strokes, some of the things that happened during this era, but really enjoyed digging into this issue. So I'm going with a 4.
Nice. I'm glad you had fun with it. Over to Jason.
I'm at a 4 with it as well. Like you said, it was relatively short, but it was a good story arc, and it wrapped up nicely. Had a good little battle at the end of it. Great moments that we talked about. So 4 for me.
Delvin.
I'm with the group. I give it a 4. Very good. The action picked up in 151. It was crazy. It's frenetic, and it continued that energy into this issue. And so I appreciate just how fun it was, considering that after 150 happened, that they could have just slowed down or taken their time to build up some stuff. It looks like they're building up some stuff still, maybe, because like this book ended, boy, Emma Frost was not happy with the results, even though she was smart enough to know to tuck her tail and run away. But it looks like the Hellfire Club will be back. So I'm liking what's being built so far. I'll give it a 4.
Boom, boom, locka, boom. I think we're going to all end up giving this a 4 because, I came in at a 3 and I was a little disappointed that they didn't do more with the Storm, not Storm. But I really like the Wolverine moments. And it was a pretty brisk read for a Claremont. So I will give it. We have walked a lot of dinosaurs here this evening.
Mm-hmm.
I see Matt Passo in the chat gave it a 5. Says it was a great read. really, really want to start digging the X-Men back issues since my love of them is coming back. I have them all in the essentials. I don't know if those are still affordable or not, Matt, but they were when I picked them up. That's a good way to get this stuff, unless you just have to have the individuals. Alberto says, I'll go with whatever the group consensus is. So he's giving it a 4. Kathy says, I should probably attempt to read these at some point, at least once for a live stream, so I can understand what you're talking about.
No, just look at the pictures.
Yeah, look at the pictures. It's fine. We just appreciate you being here. We really do. And that brings us to the end of this part of the show. Of course, if you have a comment or question, you can always leave us that voicemail at 707-532-5269, 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the balls.
What?
In the true spirit of where the song came from originally. That's amazing.
Full circle.
We'll be right back.
My name is Jesse, a Trekkie. A radiation wave hit and I got shot through a wormhole. And now I'm on some distant corner of the galaxy on a podcast, an index show about a strange science fiction series. Help me, please. Is there anybody out there who can hear me? I'm co-hosting with an insane Farscape fan. I'm doing everything I can. I'm just looking for a way home.
What the Frell, a Farscape podcast. Available only on the Council of Geeks podcast network.
Welcome back from the break. Now, let's get to the feedback part of the show where we share your comments, emails, questions, and shares in a segment called Crusader Comments. We are thrilled to kick off these comments with special shout outs to our Crusaders Club members. These are the fine folks that have joined our crusade. They enjoy early access to special Longbox episodes, voting to help determine show content, and so much more. These are the folks reaping the benefits and giving some much appreciated support to the show.
Alan Wright
and Helica Wolf.
Auburn Elvis.
Who's in the chat with us? Bill Beer.
Billy D.
Braxton Underwood.
Brian Lazara.
Captain Entropy.
Clark Westfield.
Clinton Robeson.
Dave Collins.
Ezra Gallo.
Gary V.
Gerald Green.
Heinz K.
Jason King.
Jason Lady.
Jeff Polier.
He's new. Welcome, Jeff.
Wow, yeah. I hope I got his name right.
Jeremy L.
Jim Jarman. I hope you like Jim Jarman too.
Jim Meal.
Joe Thomas.
John Watson.
Josh Strickland.
Candace Ward.
Captivating Kathy Bright, the MVP, who's here with us in the chat today.
Woo!
Mark Rost.
Matt and Lissy Paso. Matt's joined us in the chat too. Thank you for being here, Matt.
Woo-woo. Maxwell Traver.
Miranda W.
P.D. Devins.
Paul Hicks.
It's my buddy Rick from Jeff and Rick Present.
Rob Morgan. Hey, we heard of that guy.
Yeah, he's a real... Anyway.
He's a real mensch for showing up. Helping us out today.
Well, I'm a pretty great guy. I'm modest too. So
the best thing about you is your humility.
Yes, I take great pride in my humility. Samantha Maney,
Sean Urbanski,
Spidey 67,
Spreadsheet. We're still counting on you.
Steve Cronin,
Tim Price,
Tony Pennington,
and Toronto Cop.
If we missed anyone on our list, we apologize. Keep in mind that we record these episodes well in advance of release, so if you're a recent addition, we should be adding you soon, but still, no worries. Just let us know that we missed you by sending an email to contact@longboxcrusade.com and we will get it straightened out. As a reminder, you can become a Crusaders Club member by heading over to patreon.com/longboxcrusade for as little as $1 a month. You get access to the amazing world of the Crusaders Club. Come check it out. Don't have any extra scratch lying around, but still want to help us out here at LBC headquarters? Please take a moment to write a review on Apple Podcasts for this podcast. Even if you just want to keep it short with just star ratings, it helps raise the profile of the show, and we will share your review on the next show.
I'll jump in here, Delvin. It looks like Pat might not have been able to update the shares and retweets and comments from last episode. I don't know if that's because of the release schedule or if he's had a lot going on in his life right now. So we're going to let that slide on this episode. We will do our best to be back next episode with your shares, retweets, and comments. Trust me, we appreciate the heck out of them. You know, we could be doing this podcast into the void, which we probably would do anyway, but it makes it so much better when you guys do that stuff. And I apologize for not having this. It's been a rough go with the LBC here lately. We'll do our best to come back with those. And you know what? Instead of that, if you guys would just maybe keep Pat and his family in your thoughts and prayers and just give them a little strength, because they could use it right about now. We appreciate everything that Pat has done already.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Jared. Just in case you want to leave us a voicemail by any chance, going a little bit to the oldest school, you can call us and leave a voicemail that we'll play on the show. Leave us a message at 707-532-5269. You know, I just had a thought. If you hear this and you want to leave Pat and his family a message, you know, I know that he would get those messages and he would appreciate it. Like, Pat does so much work for this podcast that we see and don't see, and that anybody that's watching the show may or may not know. I mean, he literally puts his heart and soul into this stuff. So if you just wanted to call and leave him a voicemail and just tell him to hang in there, and give some thoughts and prayers to his family, I bet he'd appreciate that. 707-532-5269. That is 707-532-LBOX. No joking here. And thanks to everyone. Yep. And thanks to everyone for the likes, shares, follows, and comments. We appreciate your friendship and help in spreading the word about this podcast.
That's the show. Be sure to check out the website, longboxcrusade.com, where posts are made for journaling this crusade. I want to thank Rob, Jared, Jason, Jared, Delvin, and Jared for joining me on this episode. But before we go, let's find out where the listeners can find us on the internet. Before we actually do that, I want to read a comment from the chat. Matt Pasto says, I know I say this a lot, but thank you guys for doing this. I look forward to it, and you guys are wonderful for all you do. Thank you, Matt. Auburn Elva.
I agree with Matt.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you, bud. Auburn Elva says, I really look forward to these live shows. Thanks for doing them, guys. And Kathy said, the crew in this chat is some of my favorite moments. And that's just from the live chat. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Now, where can people find us on the internet? Rob, do you want to be found? And if so, where will people find you?
You can find me on pretty much any of the various social media platforms at RobAU94.
There you go. Delvin.
You can find me on Twitter, DEE_RAY1977. You can find me on Instagram at Delvin Ray. What about you, Jason?
You can find me at Jason Albrick on Instagram and Jason Albrick on Threads. Bringing it back to you, Jared.
I am at Yard Sale Artist on X, Facebook, Instagram. It's all at Yard Sale Artist. You can check out my artwares at www.theyardsaleartist.com. And you can find our good friend Pat. He is on the X at Christatos01. That's Christatos with a K, 01. And that's another great place where you could send him a private message. Just let him know you're thinking about him, and he'd appreciate it. And if you want to interact with us via live chat and be entered to win some free stuff on our live raffles, join us for the next episode of Doing It Live Stream right over there on those YouTubes. We do it on the second Sunday of every month, which means this coming Sunday, for those of you who are watching live, at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. Check out Longbox Crusade on YouTube. Give us that subscribe. Give us that thumbs up. Click that bell. Hey, if you haven't subscribed, and I know I'm talking to like 3 people in the chat, please do. We lost a subscriber this last month, and we just need to get that back. So we'd love for you to do that. Thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles. As always, contact at longboxcrusade.com is our email. And then, of course, the X and the Instagrams and the Facebooks. It's all at Longbox Crusade, including the YouTube, of course. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care. Please join us for the next episode as we continue our crusade to read them all.
The intro music is provided by musical genius Joe November.
Check out his SoundCloud at JOSEFLIN99. You won't regret it.
All songs, song clips, and characters discussed are copyright of their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended. We are just fans that like to share our love of comics.
Outtakes. There we go. We're live.
Yay.
Hello, everybody.
Everybody, clap your hands.
Hey, imagine cool Joe November music. I think Delvin's eating and writing this. This is amazing.
Just eating. The synopsis is written.
Oh, okay. You know, Pat work is magic and insert a promo here. All right, here we go.
Yep, we have a whole promo bank. I don't know if you know this. Like, I put together a couple shows now. Yeah,
Delvin had edit recently, so now he's.
I know all about the trade. I know all about the
He knows every bit of it now. He's the man.
You know what? Like, before you get started, it's like I still do like the clean it first, and then I'll add the sounds. Then at the end of it, I'm like, I guess this was kind of fun.
I told you.
I'm never telling Jared.
There's something nice about seeing the fruits delivered. Like, yeah, that totally worked.
It's like I have to admit that Jared was all right.
Oh, we got it recorded. We got it.
Son of a.
What can I say? All right, so now everybody knows Delvin is doing full edits. When you listen to those Transformers episodes, that's his edit. He's the man.